You know how good we are? We're going to get a rebuttal to the President's State of the Union address before he even gives it. That's how good we are, and we're going to get it from Missouri Senator Roy Blunt. Senator, welcome back to Big 550 KTRS.
Hey, it's good to be with you this morning. And based on the experience people have had in recent years giving the response to the State of the Union, it's probably better to give the pre-buttal than the rebuttal.
Agreed.
What are your thoughts as you're old hat at this now? This is a number for you for the State of the Union. What are your thoughts as you're going to sit in the audience tonight and listen?
You know, I think the real test of the State of the Union always is what the president does to try to follow up on it after it's over, and we won't know that for a few weeks. But generally, this president has not been real good about reaching back and saying, okay, let's figure out what we can do with a Democrat-controlled Senate, a Republican-controlled House, and a Democrat in the White House. And clearly, what he can do is not everything he could do the first 2 years he was president, when Democrats controlled everything. And we'll see how good a job he does figuring that out. I think there are a number of things parties would be willing to work together on. I think I could name 6 to 10 of them right now, from mental health reform to manufacturing bills, 3 of which I'm co-sponsoring with different Democrats, to infrastructure. There are lots of things that could be done, and I'd like to see us get some of it done.
One of those things is just announced. It looks like the two sides and the White House have come together on some type of farm bill.
That's my understanding. I think the House will vote on that bill tomorrow. Talked to my staff in the Ag Appropriating Committee yesterday and got some sense of it, though it wasn't posted until yesterday, and haven't been able to look at every single detail in it. But it looks like to me a 5-year farm bill that will work. It's not perfect, but it's better than not having farm policy that farm families and people that want to benefit from good food can understand. And so I would expect I'd be voting for that bill later this week.
Tonight, when the Republicans go into the chamber, is there any strategy as to cheer louder or don't cheer for certain things? Is there any sort of overlying, plan, or is each one allowed to cheer and not cheer and jeer for whatever they feel they want to?
You know, I think there's never any strategy on that, and all the time I've been in the Congress that I've heard, though, my guess is that Republicans pay some attention to how the Republican Speaker of the House, right behind the President, is responding, and Democrats pay attention to whether or not Vice President Biden thinks this is a stand-up and applaud line. But I'd be surprised if there is overwhelming emotion any way. The president is not an emotional guy, and normally doesn't get the kind of response that I think both President Bush and President Clinton did get from his side and occasionally from the other side.
It's open seating, Senator Blunt. Do you just walk in and you grab the first seat, or do you find friends, or how do you pick your seat for the speech tonight?
Well, the last several years I've been on that group of legislators called to go out and spend a few minutes with the president, first President Bush and then President Obama, and walk back in with them. And usually those seats are pretty well organized, where the Republican leaders sit together and the Democrat leaders sit together. I'm doing a number of things that involve the Democrats in bipartisan legislation, and I wouldn't be at all opposed to setting with them either, but I suspect it'll be largely determined by what seat is left when I come back in rather than what seat is left when I'm there the first time.
You also have to be petrified, or legislators, senators, and House members have to be petrified if the camera catches you while you're doing something you shouldn't be doing, i.e. sleeping or picking your nose or something.
Well, with everybody now that in America and Missouri having likely to have a recording device and a camera with them at all times, their cell phone, you're probably well advised not to ever do anything that you don't want to see on the social media or the television, either one.
So while we still have you...
Dozing off would probably be the worst thing and the hardest to avoid, because sometimes those speeches get a little tedious, and that would be pretty embarrassing for everybody, including the guy giving the speech. So
Absolutely.
I intend to stay awake and pay attention.
Breaking news here. Senator Blond plans on staying awake for the entire State of the Union. Senator, while we still have you, Kit Bond, former senator, just announced that he was hired by the Missouri Chamber of Commerce to lobby Jefferson City to expand Medicaid. What are your thoughts as you hear that news?
You say Senator Bond just announced he was hired to do that?
Yeah, the Missouri Chamber of Commerce hired him to lobby Jefferson City to try and get the state of Missouri to expand Medicaid, part of the Affordable Care Act.
Well, he's an effective guy, and he's a smart guy, and would always be a good person to ask to help, I would think. You know, my rule on that, really, since I went to the Congress, the House of Representatives, has been, until we solved all the problems in Washington, I wasn't going to have a lot of advice for the General Assembly in Jefferson City about what they should do with their problems. And frankly, this is a big decision for them to make, and I have said that repeatedly, that there are clearly two sides to this, and it's up to the General Assembly and the governor to decide which path to take. Apparently, Senator Bond's going to be working hard to convince them to expand Medicaid, and he would be a good ally to have if you were the Chamber of Commerce or others who want to see Medicaid expanded.
Senator Roy Blunt, we're going to leave it there. Make sure you don't fall asleep tonight on the State of the Union address, and
stay awake.
We'll talk to you down the road.
It is a minimal promise, but I do intend to stay awake, and I hope I'm awake when the president responds. How he's going to follow up on this speech, which again is the real test of how much the president and the administration mean to do, and it needs to be more than just that pen to sign executive orders and a phone to call people with. The Constitution matters, and the Congress is clearly something the president has to figure out how to work with the other people who are responsible for getting things done as well.
Senator Blunt, be safe. Thank you for your time.
Good to talk to you.
All right, 7:44 here, Big 550, KT.